AEW World's End will close out the calendar year for All Elite Wrestling at Edition Financial Arena, December 28th. You can get your tickets, Ticketmaster.com. I will be there. My son and I, we're making the drive up from South Florida. We're going to see the show. And joining us now, Mariah May, AEW Women's World Champion. I mean, look at the belt. You got it on your shoulder there. You are having some type of year, Mariah. How much fun are you having right now?
I'm having the most fun. I ended Tony Storm's career. I won the Owen Hart Foundation tournament. I am the AEW Women's World Champion. I won that at our biggest show of the year, All In my hometown at Wembley. So, yeah, I think I'm having a pretty good time.
So what was that like? Like you said, you're from London, so your hometown, you won in Wembley Stadium, which is a very historic building. What was that like for you?
Oh, that was amazing. And it's not something people are like, isn't this what you've always dreamed of? But it's not, because whoever thought that wrestling would come back to Wembley? I mean, 5 years ago, and we forget this because AEW is so huge, but AEW it didn't exist. It's still in its infancy. So I could never have imagined winning the AEW Women's World Championship at Wembley, because Wembley didn't even have wrestling. So for AEW to bring that back and for me to have that moment it's just surreal. It really is.
So, I mean, it had to be the biggest crowd you've ever performed in front
Yes.
of. So
Yeah.
leading up, like, what were the moments like before you hit the entrance ramp? What were those few minutes like for you?
Wow. I mean, so all day I was very nervous, which is strange because I normally feel like oddly calm when it comes to wrestling. I think I lived in Japan. I wrestled for Stardom. We did, 3 to 4 shows a week. So I lost those nerves, so to speak. And, when I had my first TV match for AEW, I was a little nervous. And then it just went away because I feel like this is where I'm supposed to be. This is what I'm supposed to do. But Wembley, for the first time in a while, I felt nervous. And somebody said to me, you're only going to have this experience once. Sure, you might wrestle All In again. You might wrestle for the world title again. But you're only going to make your entrance at Wembley for the first time once. You're only going to have this certain match once and this moment once, so make sure that you enjoy it. And it just resonated with me, and I'm like, wow, like, to the kid that always dreamt of being a wrestler, and to the girl that traveled all over Europe doing the independent shows, which aren't so glamorous, to living in Japan for a year and leaving my family behind. This is for her, and this is that moment, so enjoy it. And I started to calm down, and that little 2-minute sweet spot you're talking about when you're waiting to make your entrance, that is where you're like, but they played the video package, and it just kind of culminated Tony and I's feud. And then the minute that my music hit, I just was like, all right. And I walked out like, I'm going to trick myself into feeling confident. And I walked out, and the crowd booed me so loudly. And I was like, okay, this is going to be a lot of fun. And the nerves just disappeared because the crowd were there for us. They loved this story. They were excited for the match, and yeah, it was a lot of fun.
It's such, or it was, it may continue. I mean, Tony Storm returned recently, but it was such a phenomenal story. It was a long form story. It was told so beautifully. When you were introduced to the AEW audience, and you're the Tony Storm understudy, I mean, when that program was presented to you, in your wildest dreams, did you know that, wow, it was going to hit the way that it hit?
No, I didn't. And I think there's like a bit of a misunderstanding and a bit of a misconception that I was, told that this would all happen. I had no idea where the story would go, or I had no idea about Wembley or the Owen or any of that. But for me, it was very exciting. I'm big on stories, so I was in Japan because I wanted to improve my in-ring. And so I was literally living in Japan, fully engrossed in Stardom. And Tony Khan got in touch and said AEW were interested, and he pitched this he said a really exciting story, and we talked about it, and then kind of following Tony's footsteps, which I thought was pretty symbolic because I think my career has kind of mirrored hers in a way. We're both from the UK. She went to Stardom. I went to Stardom. I competed in a lot of the same things she did in Japan, and then coming to AEW. So for that opportunity to be laid out like that, and it kind of mirrored real life, it kind of just felt perfect. And for me, the most attractive part was that AEW saw me, and they saw something in me, and they had a plan for me. And I knew if I'm given the chance, I will capitalize. And I think that's exactly what I did. And it meant that we went all the way to Wembley Stadium, and I became the world champion. So,
Mariah, how were there not moments when you and timeless Toni Storm are cutting promos and you don't just break out laughing?
I mean, she's definitely lost her mind a little bit, but she's apparently all elite again now. She's just re-debuted, so congratulations, Toni Storm, I guess. I never really found Toni Storm quite as funny and charming as everybody else. I think everybody likes to laugh at her because she is so pathetic and just can't speak a single ounce of sense. Every single time that woman said something unhinged, all it meant was I was one step closer to taking everything off her, because it was like taking candy from a baby.
So tell me, AEW World's End, which will close out the calendar year for AEW, Edition Financial Arena, Orlando, Florida. It's like on campus at UCF, December 28th. Ticketmaster.com. You get your tickets. Tell me about what is a Tijuana street fight? Do we even know what that is yet?
I'm wondering the exact same thing. Like, Thunder Rosa sort of imposed herself, in my opinion, into a very personal moment with me and Mina. That match was about our friendship, and she decided to make it about herself and sit in the crowd and hold up stupid signs. So I said to her, name a time, name a place, any rules. And I guess she picked a Tijuana street fight because she thinks that gives her some kind of advantage. And maybe it does, She is Mexican. She's picked the Tijuana aspect of it. She's better at street fights than normal wrestling, clearly. I'm the better wrestler. So I get why she's done that. And she's bringing her dad, like her dad's front row and all this stuff. Take it. She should take every advantage she can. I'm sure she has a ton of wacky and wild ideas, and I'm excited to see them. But the result is going to be the same result we have seen since I became world champion, and that is that I am unbeatable.
When Mariah May is not wrestling, you're at the show, maybe your match has already taken place, or maybe you're not on the card for that night. Who is your favorite to sit back and watch?
Definitely not any of the girls. The only girl I like to watch is myself on playback. But if I had to pick one of the guys, I mean, my favorite's probably Samoa Joe, who I miss. I miss him. Where is he?
What is so great about Samoa Joe that you love?
I think he's just real. I think he's so real. Every promo he does. I'm not one for nonsense and dreams and fantasies. I say it how it is. I think Samoa Joe, people hated him. They love him now, but he's someone who just says it how it is. Even the way that he wrestles is it's so real. It's so honest. So I just think I like that. I like that kind of stuff in a world of nonsense and everybody playing dress up. I like Samoa Joe.
Mariah, all of us, huge pro wrestling fans like myself, I've loved it my entire life. We all have like that moment that we fell in love with pro wrestling. When did Mariah May fall in love with pro wrestling?
I mean, I've always loved it since I was a child, but for me, I loved Mickie James, and when she won the women's title, I think she actually won it in the UK. She beat Beth Phoenix. That's something I remember going to school about and telling my friends about, going into, I think you guys call it elementary school. We call it primary school. When you're like a kid, going in the next, because I used to watch wrestling in the morning because I lived in the UK, so from time zones I'd watch it the next day. I could not stay up that late, and I remember telling my friends about it, and I'm actually still friends with one of the girls I've known since I was like 7 years old, and she came to Wembley actually, and she texted me. She said, "I remember you coming into school and talking about that girl that won the title."
Amazing.
Yeah, that girl. So yeah, it's definitely a moment that stands out to me, and hopefully I can be that moment, or me killing Toni Storm can be that moment for a lot of people.
So what was it like then, Mariah, when you tell your parents one day, I want to do this for a living?
I mean, my parents are very supportive of whatever I do. I think they were honestly confused because, all my teachers are like, she's so clever, she's going to do this or this. And there were so many paths laid out for me. And I did other jobs as well before I was a wrestler, but I always said this is what I want to do. And I think they were kind of like, okay, sure. They kind of, it's like saying, hey, I want to be an astronaut. Like, they're just like, all right, have fun. And then they came to my debut, which was in a school gym with 80 people. And, they were proud of me, but I think, it's a school gym with 80 people. And it's like, all right, cool. And then they never saw me wrestle again. And then I did independents all around Europe for years. And then I moved to Japan for a year, which, obviously they couldn't see. And I would text them pictures of stuff and when I won the titles and stuff. And they obviously thought it was cool, but it's a little bit different when you see it in person. And so the next time they actually saw me wrestle was Wembley Stadium, which is AEW's biggest show. I had over 40,000 people there, and it was such a high stakes match. Everybody loved the story between Tony and I. And so I think when I told them, they were definitely confused, but all for it. But I think Wembley Stadium was when they were like, all right, like, she did it. We get it.
Did you know where they were in the crowd?
Yes, I did. I saw when I went out, I always look at the crowd just to kind of see who's there, who I can pick on or whatever. And, I'm still just a kid, so immediately I was like, where's mom, where's dad? Like, where is everyone? And my niece is there. She's 8 and she, so I immediately had to like lock eyes on her, and all I saw there was them just like so nervous.
And so what was the moment like? I assume they came backstage and congratulated you at some point in the night after the match. What was that moment like?
That was really cool. It was really nice. Even just to bring them backstage at AEW, and what an accomplishment it is to be all elite and to be in that environment, and backstage at Wembley too, which is just huge. Unfortunately, my mom didn't come. I think she took the slap in the face a little personally, but the rest of them came and they're pretty happy.
Mariah May, who is just killing it with AEW right now, women's world champion. Tell everybody on the way out here, Mariah, what's in store for Thunder Rosa Edition Financial Arena, December 28, AEW World's End. Go ahead.
Tequila and violence. That's what awaits Thunder Rosa.
Great job, Mariah. Best of luck going forward. You've been terrific. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.